Good
Well,
morning,
good
Jen.
morning, Muffin Show. I won't
Oh,
say. You look so summery, though. I love that top.
thank you. It is summery out. It's time for all the summer wear to come out, right?
Yes, yes,
You
yes.
too. You've got your tank on. Yep.
I have a sundress on. Yes, and
See?
it's just like a t-shirt dress. But yeah, thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
So today we're talking about how to get your listing ready. Okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this isn't a market where people have to do much.
Yeah, the market definitely dictates how, let's say, overboard, which some people would say sellers need to do to get ready. So we've had markets where we bring in staging, we're repainting, we're landscaping, we're doing all sorts of stuff. With the high demand and low inventory, buyers certainly aren't able to be as picky as they were in past markets. So a little pressure off of our sellers for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know about you, but I have seen offers where it's like leave, like take what you want, leave the rest as far as like furniture even. Like
Yeah. So yeah, that's such a good point. Like, hey, just take what you want, leave the junk in the garage. We'll deal with it. Like, what can we do to have you accept our offer? So there's some interesting things transpiring for sure. For sure.
Yeah. So getting your listing ready in 2021. Okay. So when you meet typically with a listing, and they say, well, what do we have to do to get ready? What do you say?
Well, you know what? It depends. Obviously, when we reach a listing, I'm walking up as if I'm a buyer, right? Like, or I'm an agent showing this to a buyer. What's the sense I get when I pull up to this property? So that evaluation starts the moment we get out of the car, right? So as simple as, is there chip paint around the door? Is it an old dirty mat? Is there a torn screen? Like, what do we do to present that first impression? But in terms of like, what do I say to a person? There's a quick evaluation that we as agents do just upon entering, and also getting to know the client, right? Like, what is that seller's threshold? What is their motivation to sell? What does the house look like now? What are their capabilities, right? There's a lot that goes into it. Some people are fantastic DIYers, right? Like, they're going to make this place shine. We can tell by their decor, all of this thing's going to come together like that. Some people, that's just not their thing, right? They don't care. It's not a value or a talent of theirs. They don't care. And at that point, we're certainly not going to have somebody do things that they just aren't capable or is not of interest to them. So a lot of that is kind of that game time decision as you walk up and you learn more about the property and the seller.
Totally. I can see that.
Yeah.
So, say you meet one of those people. I love that you use the word talent because it is a talent and it is a skill. So say they don't have that talent and they're like, well, I've heard that we could, somebody will buy our house off market, or that, like they hear those advertisements for, we'll just buy it as is. What do you say to somebody when they say that?
Well, you know what? We often talk about like a plan A and a plan B in selling, right? So plan A is we do everything we can to make this property shine, right? Like, we're going to do everything. Some people, that's not part of their motivation or their journey or story in selling. For some, it might be doing the very bare bones. And then we look at what is that value like? So sometimes there are, like somebody might pay cash for a property off market. Ultimately, in most scenarios, the seller is going to be leaving money on the table. So that's a conversation that we have to have right off the bat, if that's something of interest, to say, hey, this might be a really good path for you. We call it kind of the path of least resistance, right? Like, what just gets you to the closing table the fastest? But ultimately, you're going to probably be leaving some money and maybe some significant money on the table. And then we need to weigh, is that convenience worth it?
Yeah, I call that the hustle versus the hassle.
Perfect. Yeah, exactly. That's it. You pay for the convenience, right? And how much are you willing to pay for that? And for some people, it's a fantastic solution. For most people, even with just a little elbow grease and a little work, we can get that property to a point at which it makes sense to put it on the market and, market to the masses.
Well, especially right now when you hear that people are paying up to 15% over asking, which that's thousands of dollars. I mean,
it's thousands of dollars. Right. Yep. Exactly.
So, okay, I love these conversations that we have around it. Okay, so when I talk to people, and it's mostly cleaning. I feel like you watch these DIY shows that are like on TV, and there's some that do like the whole demoing thing to get ready, and they have they take out this home equity line of credit and they just go crazy. But other people, I really like what's her name, Nicole. She's out of her office. I really like her, the rehab addict. Because what she basically does is elbow grease. It's cleaning.
We talk a lot about that, right? Like what you have needs to be clean. If it's old, that's okay. In my opinion, it needs to be clean. It needs to work. We don't want things that don't work. But honestly, things can be outdated. But if they're clean and somebody can envision coming in and, okay, I'll take on some projects, that's a world of difference.
Yeah. Even if it's just like looking at the corners and the baseboards and doing some high dusting, things like that. Like you might not be able to paint. Like it might just be grime.
Right. That's just it. I think people should never be overwhelmed or think they have to pay thousands and thousands for a stager. Not every property requires that. Actually, most don't necessarily. But clean, well kept, have things work. That's the bare minimum, right? And that can work.
Yep. Okay, so now there is some people that are able or that aren't able to move before they buy. So they're in that transitional period, or maybe they're always worried, like, what do I do with the boxes? Like, what is your answer to that when people are like, what do I do with all my stuff?
Right. So that's something we have to talk about, right? If you're listing and you live there, you still have to live there, right? Like, so you have day-to-day stuff and you have all those stored items. So it's funny, we go through properties, right? And you're like, wow, it's so minimal, right? This looks beautiful. And you open up the garage and you said, oh, that's where they put everything. It's packed to the ceiling, right? All the boxes are shoved in there. And that's okay. We all understand the stuff has to go somewhere. So the key is just have it be organized, right? Have boxes stacked, do it as nice as you can. So it's not just like a forgotten pile, right? Have it be nice, but ultimately people use pods, get a storage unit. There's some other creative things to do that don't cost a lot, but inevitably the stuff has to go somewhere.
Yeah, I always say when I open the garage and I'm showing houses and I see that, I'm like, oh, wow, look, these people are motivated.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Well, here's the thing. We talk about that with our sellers. Like, you're going to move. Like, let's just commit to this. Start packing like you're moving. Get rid of the stuff you don't want to take to another property. Do that declutter, not only to present the property well, but to get your process going for the next house you're going to.
Oh my gosh, yes. So like the people that have lived in the house for like 30 years and they're going through boxes of like their kids like graded school papers and their kids have kids.
We've all been there. We've all had that box show up at our door from our parents and we're like, I don't know what's in it, just take it away, right? But inevitably, there's the momentums, right? There's things that are important that people want to hang on to, and
So now, what do you do to so when people are getting their home ready, they're going to have, how do you open the conversation that they're going to have strangers coming in? How do you have that conversation?
Right. Well, what we do, so oftentimes if a seller is going to also be a buyer, that's an easier transition in the sense of like, okay, you're going to be going and looking at properties. Maybe you've already been out looking at properties. What did you notice when you went into a house? Because somebody's going to come through with that critical eye to your house as well. How do we make them have a really great experience in your house? Also, when it comes to having strangers in, we talk a lot with COVID and stuff. We're going to have people take their shoes off. We're going to give them masks. We're going to give hand sanitizer. We're going to ask them not to touch anything. We're going to ask them to leave the lights alone. So some of those health features we talk about. The other thing, we talk about valuables, right? Like put your valuables away. We've never had, knock on wood, we haven't had any bad experiences. Most people out there with the best of intentions, but just be careful about things, right? Don't leave things that are really, really important to you out in the open, put your valuables away and stuff. But yeah, that's unnerving for a lot of people to say the public's coming through my house. And we say, hopefully it's just a short amount of time, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that it's not only that people are coming in, but they're also looking at it online.
Yeah.
So I definitely advise, like you'll see these beautiful kids' rooms and they got these like name things on the wall. Like, your kid's name and address is going to be online. You might want to think about taking that down. Yeah,
you want to do the depersonalization we talk about, right? Like somebody should be able to enter that property or like you said, view it online and not know who lives there, what this person's hobbies are, what their interests are. You really want to depersonalize. Sometimes we say you have to make it boring, right? Like take out all the family photos, vacation memorabilia, all that, and just make it as just neutral as possible. And that's helpful for everybody.
Yeah. I have a lot of staging stuff. My husband hates it because I have boxes and barrels and things of it. And it's all blank, like white china, like white pillows, white things. And it's like literally a blank slate. And he's like, well, why do you do that? I was like, you have to leave space for the buyer's imagination to start moving them in and be able to say, to be able to have everything so simple that they would start like placing their furniture in it or start rearranging. Because the moment their imagination starts taking over is that emotional hook, like they're moving in.
Right. That's absolutely right. That there's a big emotional factor that happens. It's kind of like the psychology of presenting anything to the market, right? Just any product. What are you going to do to get the most amount of buyers to want to buy your product, right? Mm-hmm. They need to envision themselves using it.
Exactly. I love this. This is okay. So I want to get a little personal. I hope you don't mind, but if you were to sell your house, is it ready?
Is it ready? Well, ultimately, we just moved not that long ago. So I'll back up the bus in this conversation. When we moved a year ago, no, the house wasn't ready. And it's so interesting. And you know this, Jen, how many sellers do we talk to that say, oh my gosh, I got the house. The house is now the way I want it. And I'm moving, right? Mm-hmm. They got all the to-do projects done, the paint they've always wanted to do, all those things. And then we show them the photos. They're like, darn it. Why didn't I do that for myself? So that's something I love to tell people. If you want to have your house a certain way, do it for yourself and enjoy it while you're there, right? Like do those things and have some of that for yourself. But inevitably, we all get busy, right? We all get busy. So I learned myself moving that, wow, I had a good reminder how much work it is, right? It's a lot of work to prep and get your stuff, ready to go. So now I'd be ready to move, but it's because I just did it.
Oh man, my husband and I, we were moving during COVID and we wanted to downsize. And because we have two properties that we needed to sink money into. And I was like, no. We need one property to sink money into. And so we bought a property sight unseen.
Interesting.
Yeah, we weren't ready for it. So there's a lot more like honeydew projects than we anticipated, but they're the fun stuff. They're all cosmetic. And like you said, we want to make it the way we want to make it.
Yeah.
And it's silly how the smallest project can make you feel like the best. Like just, I painted like the inside. I can't paint the outside of my door because I live in a townhome community, but I painted the inside of my door. So when I look at it, I just feel this sense of
nice.
And that takes me literally like $20 to do.
Paint's a beautiful thing, isn't it? I don't think there's any bigger bang for your buck than paint.
and paint. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got a couple seconds left.
Okay.
What is a message that you would like to leave future listings with, like a seed plant?
A seed to plant for future listings. I think you hit the nail on the head with the last question. Start doing the things that you want to do to get your house ready now. Inevitably, when the right property comes along to purchase, you're going to need to move quick. So anything that anybody can do that's considering selling, to start prepping and decluttering, going through those closets, attics, basements, do that now. You'll feel good even if you don't move. Go through those things and minimize your belongings.
Yeah, I feel like rearranging your furniture is the first step, because then it gets that, once again, that psychological and emotional hook, and it just starts their imagination going. And it's amazing what you can do in just like moving, just changing the way a couch is positioned. Like it's a whole chain reaction.
I'll tell you one other thing fast. Also, talk to your agent before you get too far down the road, because you may think you need to do more than you need to do. So definitely get professional advice on that too.
That is very true. That is so true. Okay. Well, thank you very much for taking the time.
Thank you. I think appreciate this.
A couple weeks down the road before we see you again. Enjoy your
look forward to
July weekend.
You too, Jen. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.